Hi guys! As you might know, I'm really into macro photography, and when I study some of the most beautiful macro photos out there, I noticed that many of them have water droplets in them. For some reason, water droplets tend to look really beautiful when you look at them really close, and preferably with some sunlight coming in like from the side. That tends to look pretty cool, no matter if the water droplet is the main subject of the picture or if it's just a part of the whole scene. So today I felt like doing some experimentation with water droplets in my home at my desk. I'm gonna use some very simple means, and we're going to explore what we can do with just this bottle that can produce artificial water droplets, or I guess they are real, but not from rain. And I have a very normal speedlight, this Godox one, a wireless Godox speedlight. It's very cheap and I love it because it does the job and it never fails, at least not so far. And I also have my Tamron macro lens, which is also really great, but you can of course use any macro lens you want. But I would recommend a macro lens that goes at least to 1:1 magnification, so you get some magnification of those water droplets. And besides these three things, you also need a white wall or a white surface of some sort, because we're gonna use that to reflect and diffuse the light to make it look like sunlight, or at least as close as possible. So let's explore the world of water droplet photography. Let's go. So the first subject I'm gonna try photographing is my custard apple plant, which is still recovering from when I left it without water for a couple of weeks. And as you see, I'm pointing the flash towards the wall. This makes the source of light much bigger than if I would have pointed the flash directly at the subject, and also the light becomes more diffused. It becomes a bit softer, which makes it look a lot nicer. And when the light is rather big, the light source, and it comes from the side like this, it kind of simulates what it looks like with morning sunlight. And this is the effect I was after here. I would like it to look like morning sun coming from the side, illuminating the water drops. It's also very important with the background, and I wanted this to look like something shot in nature, so I put a green object behind my subject. And since the background is so blurred anyway, it doesn't really matter that it is a plastic flower pot. It will just look like something green when you look at the photo. And this is perfect, because then we can make it look as if the picture was taken in nature with some more nature behind it. Then you just want to try a lot of different angles. Try positioning the light in a lot of different angles, let light come from different sides, and also of course vary what angles you take the photo from. And just try everything, and soon you will find an angle that makes the subject look interesting, and above all makes the water drops on the subject look interesting. This was one of my first test shots, and it looks kinda cool, right? The light comes slightly from the side, and the flower pot in the background, it's hard to see that it is a flower pot, it just looks like something abstract. When I shoot with a flash or a speed light, I prefer to shoot in manual mode. And then I set the ISO to 100, because I know that I will have enough light anyway, so there's no reason setting the ISO higher than that. I don't want to introduce any noise. And I set the aperture quite high, usually around f10 on my full frame camera. Because I want to maximize the depth of field, which is minuscule anyway when you're taking macro photos. When it comes to shutter speed, I prefer to keep it quite high, at least for this particular subject. I began with 1/250th of a second, and then I experimented with shutter speeds down to 120th of a second. And the lower you set it, the more of the environment you will get in the picture, or like the environmental light. So it can be good to experiment here. And when I've set the ISO, the aperture and the shutter speed on the camera, I set the flash to maybe 1/8 or 1/4 of maximum power, and I just take a test shot and see how it looks, and then I just adjust the power of the flash accordingly until I get a good exposure. And this is typically how I shoot when I'm using a flash. I like to go manual both on the camera and on the flash, because I tend to want to adjust everything anyway, so might as well do it from the beginning. So we're saying thank you to my custard apple plant, and we say hello to this other plant that I found in some window in my apartment. I have found that big water drops usually looks better than small water drops in these kind of photos, and I found that if I spray more times, the water drops that form will be bigger. So just spray a couple of times and it will look better. And then I'm just simply using the technique to focus that I'm always preaching about. Set the focus roughly where you want it, and then just move the camera backwards and forwards until you have a good shot. And as you know, you will have to take a lot of shots that are out of focus, and some of them will have focus in the right place, and then just pick these ones for your final selection. And now I'm gonna try this orchid that I found in some other window in the apartment. Something that I didn't try during the photo session, that I'm kind of regretting that I didn't try when I look at the photos afterwards, is to have some kind of gel on the flash so that the light would become a little bit more yellow. Because now when you look at the pictures, the light is very, very cold. I mean, the flash usually emits daylight at 5600 Kelvin, and that's what it's supposed to do, but in many of the pictures this light looks a little bit too cold. So I think next time I will experiment with an orange gel, or maybe bouncing the light off something that is a bit more yellowish in color instead of a white wall. Time to try another subject with very small leaves that could look interesting at 1:1 magnification. Let's see what we can get. And this looks pretty good, I would say, but again, the light is a little bit too cold, and of course I could adjust that in Lightroom, but then I would also have to kind of destroy the other colors a little bit. And another mistake I think I did during this photo session, now that I'm looking at the pictures afterwards, is that I only used green for background. For example, now I have this green plant, and the pictures, they kind of lack color contrast. When you use the same kind of color for the background as for the foreground, the whole picture just becomes green and it doesn't look that interesting. So I regret a little bit that I didn't try more colors for the background. I will try that next time. In this example, I'm using my son's pants as a backdrop to get that greenish color for the background. And even though the color contrast isn't that great, it makes the photos look like they were taken out in the field, even though what you're seeing in the background here is just a couple of pants. When you go for a little bit higher speeds for your shutter speed, you can get a bit darker backgrounds, which may look very cool. I like this image. So that's it for this video. I hope I inspired you a little bit to try this. It's very simple and quick, and within an hour you can take some pretty interesting water drop photos. And if you try this, please use the hashtag MWWaterdrops, and we can have a look at each other's water drop photos and maybe inspire each other even more. So that's it for now. See you soon again. Please follow me on Instagram if you want to. My name there is MWRoll, which is also my name at 500px. And please subscribe if you like my channel and want to see more photography videos. And please like this video if you did like it. Thank you, over and out. See you soon again.